Okay, hi guys, Dr. Sharma here. So in today's video, really wanted to discuss something which comes up often with patients and clients around the world. Not just patients who come to our clinic in Alberta, Canada, but actually, a lot of patients who contact us from other parts of the world who want some information. We're going to be talking about FUE techniques, so follicular unit excision techniques. And this is the procedure where the grafts are taken one by one using a motorized punch, which is essentially a small blade that rotates. We're going into the donor area, we're piercing the skin, and we're taking the grafts out one by one. Now, a very, very long time ago, there was this very large debate within the hair transplant community about which technique is better. Is it FUE or is it FUT, where we make the linear excision from ear to ear? As we say in England, there's lots of different ways to skin the cat. Ultimately, it depends upon how you perform the procedure, how you plan it. Every case is different and every individual must be assessed upon their own merits. But I think it's evident, without a doubt, that the FUE technique is gathering popularity because a lot of men do not wish to have a linear excision in the back of the scalp. And I personally love doing the FUT technique. I really, really do. I'm very good at it. I love making a lovely linear excision. I love stitching it. I love making, the results look as best as I can by ensuring the scar is minimal. But from what I found in my own practice is a lot of men just don't want to undergo the linear cut anymore. They would wish to go for the FUE technique. So with that being said, often it's how can we ensure that the best method is used to provide the best grafts, the best quality of grafts, and the best looking hair, and what are the limitations with the FUE technique to allow this and perform this. And over time, the techniques and the technology and our understanding has evolved. We understand that to really achieve as near natural hair as we can get, we need to make sure that the roots are not damaged. The grafts are treated with the utmost care, and the entire microstructure is not damaged. And also trying to take as much fat as we can as well, because the more padding the individual follicle has, the better growth it's going to have. So with the FUE technique, there was initially some skepticism about how good of a job can you do if you can't see the grafts. Initially, a lot of the technique was done manually, using a manual punch. And then obviously as time has progressed, we've gone on to the motorized technology. Initially, when I started my practice back in London, the UK, we were using a motorized punch, very, very high speeds, and it was simply excising the skin and excising all the way to the bottom, into the dermis, into some of the fat layer, and then each individual follicle was pulled one by one. It is a procedure where a lot of hand-eye coordination comes into play, because anyone can do this technique, and you may get a lot of transactions because you can't see. It's all experience and hand-eye coordination. And I did very, very well. But even with that, I always wanted to go to the next edge. And I was always very curious about, well, if we're going in with a very fast rotating blade, that trauma, that torque, that rotational force, can we be damaging the follicles even without knowing about it? Is that microtrauma going to affect results? So there's a large variety of FUE technology on the market as well. There are rotating blades, there are oscillating blades, there are vibrational blades. Personally, what I found using my experience is every person's skin, tissue, elasticity, exit angle is different. So it really varies from case to case. But one thing I have found that's a general rule is the less trauma you can perform around the area when you're going in, the less contact with the hair follicle you can provide, the better the results are going to be. So we very recently invested in a lovely piece of technology from Europe, from a world-renowned hair transplant surgeon called Dr. Devroy, who's one of my idols. And he developed a technology called the Tornado Punch. And ultimately what this device allows is it's a very low speed rotational blade, excises the skin, and the majority of the cutting to free the follicle is done using vibrations. And the reason that this is really, really cool, what I found, is that we're not really having much contact with the actual hair follicle. The patient often experiences like their scalp's being vibrated. And this is actually freeing up the tissue using vibration rather than cutting or torque. And one thing I found after introducing this practice recently is there are some downsides. That it's a longer procedure, but we're not here for fast results. We're here for good results. But secondly, the quality of the hair follicles is much better. And what I've also found is we're able to get a reduced diameter of each individual hair follicle, but still getting a bit of fat as well, which I haven't really found with some of the older technologies. So that's one way that we're keeping up to date with technology, with progress, to ensure that, if we're operating to a 95% level of excellency, we want to try and squeeze that edge to get to 90, 96, 97, and that's the way you always want to be better. So I hope this video helps, and I certainly hope it helps you to explore different devices out there. Do try to understand the importance of torque, rotational speed. If you have more curly hair, that's going to certainly slow the procedure down even more, because every single hair follicle as it exits the epidermis is going to be at a different angle. So you simply can't dissect an entire row of hair follicles using the same angle. And that's where, it's very important to make sure that you find a quality provider rather than somebody who's just doing, bulk procedures. Because in the end of the day, it's your hair and you're living with it the rest of your life. But yeah, I hope this helps, and any questions, just leave them in the link below. Thanks very much. Is that okay?